Good morning. It is Monday. And yeah, look what I have in my hand. Remember this? I got this for Christmas for my daughter because she knew how much I like to feed the birds, and I forgot to put it out. Been sitting as a decoration next to my fireplace all this time. So I thought, we have a pair of cardinals that live in the tree behind me. And so I thought, you know what? They might like this. So I moved my little shepherd's hook for planters around the other side of the corner here. And I'm just going to hang it on it so that they can enjoy it. And also so that I can see, so that I can see them pecking at it from the window there. And today, actually, I have an appointment at 1:20 to go to an orthopedic surgeon. Can you believe it? Back sometime right before Christmas, I bumped my finger. I stoved it, and it's my right ring finger. And all this time, it has been swollen. I cannot get my ring off. It hurts. It's gradually diminished, the hurt, but it's still an ache. But when I go to close my hand, my knuckle will pop. And my family physician sent me to get an x-ray. The x-ray said nothing was wrong with the bones. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just assuming because he sent me to an orthopedic surgeon. So, anyways, I don't know. I know it's not broken. It's just I did something, and I don't even know. I'm not the type of person that goes to doctors for every little thing, but the ring that happens to be on this particular finger is my great grandmother's ring that is well over 130 years old. And it even has a mine cut diamond in it that they don't even cut diamonds like that anymore. And it has her inscription on the inside. And I said, I'm not getting this cut off. I'm sorry. It's not happening. Eventually, the swelling will go down. Because it's not like making my finger too tight. As you can see, that there is space. I think you might be able to see that there is space underneath there. But I can't get it off because the swelling is from there forward, and it's more around the knuckle area. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm up to today. And honestly, I think I'm going to the wrong doctor because I am still not completely back to myself. I am still occasionally getting chills and fever and all that kind of stuff, but it's not really to the point where I feel bad, just during that 2 hours maybe, and then I'm back to myself. So right now, I feel fine, except for my finger. But anyways, now that you know all about me, I will talk to you later on throughout my day and let you know how things go. And I hope you have a blessed one. And in everything, praise the Lord. I found this new recipe, and it's called chocolate chip oatmeal cookies. And I just thought it sounded really good. So I thought I'd make them because my husband's had a sweet tooth lately. So if I'm going to have chocolate, I might as well have something with a little bit of nutrition also, right? So anyways, all it takes, it said, is 1 cup of butter, a cup of light brown sugar, 1 egg at room temperature, and then 1 egg yolk at room temperature, vanilla, flour, oats, baking powder, baking soda, and salt. Sounds pretty simple, right? And then, of course, your chocolate chips. So it said first, all you do is you just beat your butter and your sugar together well, and then you're going to beat in your egg yolk, and I've already went ahead and separated one of those eggs and stuck it in a bowl here with another egg so that it could get to room temperature. And then you just mix the rest of the ingredients together. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And it says once, that's my computer, by the way. It says once that it is all mixed, then you just stir in your chocolate chips by hand. And this is the part I found confusing, because it says that they used an ice cream scoop to make the balls for the chocolate chip cookies at about 1.5 inch. That's a mega big cookie. So don't know if I'm going to do that, but it does only cook at 325, which I thought was really a low temp. And it needs to be on a lightly greased pan or on parchment paper on a pan. So I'm actually, I think, going to try both to see which one might work better. And I will take you along with me as I do this. So then now I am just going to begin adding the oats and the flour. This dough is an extremely dry dough. In fact, as it was mixing up, I was seriously wondering whether or not it was even going to mix up, because it was just that dry. But it did, and I think it's going to work quite well, not to be sticky, but we'll see how it goes with actually forming them into balls and making a cookie. I only used about 8.5 ounces of chocolate because I didn't want a lot of chocolate. And that's one of the things that I liked, is that it said that you can use more or less chocolate as is your preference. So I didn't want a whole bag in here. But yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and form these into balls. And I just don't know, as you can see, I mean, it's not messy at all. So I don't know why you'd need to use an ice cream scoop unless that was the size that you wanted. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to stick some on a pan with coconut oil spray, and then I will also try one with parchment paper, and I'll show you the difference. This is what the balls look like, and I just took out my first pan. The one that's presently in the oven has the parchment paper, but since it came off the pan without any sticking, I thought, why waste the parchment paper? But to show you, this is what the cooked looks like compared to, but they do taste good. So I just wanted to show you with the cooked, it just, you know, it really isn't all that flat, is it? It's a nice poofy. So maybe, I mean, right now it's really warm, so I ate one that was really warm, so of course it's going to be soft. But once it cools down, who knows, maybe it'll stay really soft. I'll let you know. And you know how when you have oatmeal cookies, you can see the oats, and you know, it's very evident that it is an oatmeal cookie. But this is a chocolate chip cookie that it is not evident. If you did not know that there was oats in it, I don't think anybody would ever be able to know that, because it's just not, it's not evident. This is the inside of that cookie. It is very soft. It's not, you know, it's not a crisp cookie at all. Yet it's very good. It's a perfect soft chocolate chip cookie. It really is remarkable. And the fact that it's got oatmeal in there makes it, you know, a bit of a healthier cookie, especially if you're making them for kids. I actually only put in 1/2 teaspoon of salt because I read that wrong. So it didn't make any difference. No one's gonna know there's oatmeal in it. So anyways, talk to you later. Well, hello again, everybody. This is actually a little bit earlier than I would normally do a devotion, but my youngest son is going to be coming over after work tonight, which is just about the time that I would
usually be doing this. So that's why it looks light outside still. And because I'm about an hour earlier than I usually am. But I also wanted to talk to you a little bit about the fact that I went to an orthopedic surgeon today. I knew I bumped the cupboard, like went down like that with my finger at one point, but I can't even remember when. I just remember thinking, I am too busy for this, and shaking off the pain. But anyways, so Christmas came and went, and New Year's came and went, and the month of January came and went, and my finger was still swollen. And so when I just went for my general wellness checkup with my family physician, I mentioned it to him. He seemed a little bit concerned. He says it should not be swollen for 2.5 months, so let's go get an x-ray. So I went and got an x-ray, and the next thing I know, I'm getting a phone call from his nurse saying, we have set up an appointment with you at an orthopedic surgeon. And so I went to that today. In fact, I almost didn't go. I almost called them up and canceled it, thinking I'm just being a big baby. And anyways, my husband ended up taking me, and I went. And I am not being a big baby. There's a tendon, and I'm going to demonstrate it with my good hand because I really can't quite open up this one yet because of the shot she gave me. But there is a tendon that comes down your finger and goes through your hand and then goes up your arm. Well, at this point right here, like where you would normally maybe get a callus if you were a little kid playing on monkey bars, she could feel the little knot, and she just gently pressed down. You can see she didn't press very hard, and I was ready to go through the roof. I didn't even know it hurt there because that's not where I was experiencing the pain. I was experiencing the pain in the knuckle area and right below here. I couldn't get this ring off. So when I went to this doctor today, she said, let's try to get the ring off. And I just kind of really got that gooped up. And with a little bit of work, I was able to get it up over the knuckle, because she said that she was concerned that if we left the ring on this finger, even though this part where the ring was and was not swollen, that the cortisone shot she was going to give me would cause it to swell, and she didn't want it to have any complications, knowing how valuable the ring was to me. Anyways, so she gave me a shot right in this area here, and it was horrible. I don't know how to say it any more than that. It was just absolutely horrible. The amount of pain. She said it was going to be painful, and trust me, people, it was painful. But when I walked out, I couldn't move my fingers at all. Now I can move my fingers again, although I have no strength at all, and it's still very stiff, and it's still very sore. And she says, worst case scenario, that if it doesn't go away within the next week or two, we could always do another cortisone shot, but probably it would be that I'd have to have surgery, which would be where they would make a little incision here and go in there, and I don't know what they do. Doesn't sound fun. So prayers that this works would be great. So that being said, tonight I'm going to read John chapter 8, verse 47, and I am reading out of the New King James Version. But actually, we're going to be talking about going back all the way up to verse 39. So it's, I'm going to be talking about verses 39 to 47 with the emphasis of 47, because that's the verse I'm reading, and that's kind of what we're focusing on. I'm getting a little wordy, huh? Sorry. Verse 47 says, "He who is of God hears God's words. Therefore, you do not hear, because you are not of God." And this is where I wanted to talk a little bit about the preceding verses to help you understand the context of what was being said here. See, preceding this verse, the Jews were claiming that Abraham was their spiritual father. But Jesus responded by stating that the spiritual descendants of Abraham do what Abraham did. And that is, they believe and they obeyed God. He went on to tell them that they were not like Abraham, because Abraham listened to God's truth and obeyed it. But these religious leaders were proud and they rejected the truth. You see, love is kind of like a family affair. If these Jews really had God as their father and really loved him, then they would have loved Jesus because he came from God. Jesus speaks to people, but their fundamental opposition to him caused them to misunderstand his language. Since they wanted to kill Jesus, and since they rejected the truth, and they embraced the lie, it was clear that they did not belong to God, but instead their father was Satan, who is the enemy of life and truth, and was the one keeping them in bondage. Satan's children may be well versed in their traditions, but have no understanding of the truth of God's word. Since unbelievers love darkness and not light, since they love falsehood, not reality, they reject Jesus. Many accusations have been made against Jesus, but he is so committed to doing God's will that it's impossible to show any connection between Jesus and sin, because there was none. Belonging to God is the basis in order to hear from him. To hear from God is not a matter of being able to discern the audible sounds of obeying the heavenly commands, and the Jews' absolute rejection of the heavenly word is clear reflection that they did not belong to God. But you know what? Sometimes even believers can read this and think, well, I can't hear him, so I guess I'm not of God? Keep in mind that none of us are fixed permanently in a state of hearing or not hearing. Like most other things in our lives, it's actually a matter of choice. So how do we choose to hear God's words? Part of it is seeking him, because we want Jesus in our lives. We're seeking him. If we don't want God in our lives, it's very unlikely that we're going to be listening to his voice. The more we want to be close to God, the more we seek to be close to God. The more attuned we will be to his spirit and be able to hear then what he has to say. And the same goes the other way. The less we want to work at being close to God, the less sensitized we will be until we can hear nothing but ourselves. Walking away from God in order to figure out how we feel about him and how dedicated we are to him is completely counterproductive for the very same reasons. If we are trying to figure out our relationship with God by not hanging out with him, that's sort of like trying to overcome an argument with a friend by stopping all further communication with that friend. It's probably not going to work, but only in one way, and that's going to be the loss of that friendship. If we want to be of God and therefore able to hear his voice, we have to work at that relationship. We have to want to hear what he has to say. Some indicators of that desire and faith might be reading the scriptures and praying and studying the words of the prophets. And you know what? We need to be willing to give God's plan a try rather than striking off on our own. So today, let's listen. Let's seek. Let's do everything we can to be of God and be able to hear when God speaks to us, because He always will. Let's not choose a self-imposed deafness. And with that, I want to remind you, life happens. Let's enjoy it. And a little reminder here too, our church membership and family connections will not make us a child of God. Our true Father is the one that we end up imitating and obeying. And no matter how much one might claim to know Christ, but they reject the teaching of His Word, that is just a clear indication that they do not know Jesus Christ at all. Good night, and God bless.